All right, so welcome to Lake Monastery and welcome to the discussion series, Buddhism for Daily Life. You can see it on the screen here. Okay, welcome to the discussion series, Buddhism for Daily Life. And let me tell you a little bit about what this Lake Monastery is. Of course, you here know what it is, but most of you might not have heard it before. So we are right in front of the Barry's Lake, which is beautiful. I can see it through my window here. It's a wetland slash a lake, which has been home to many creatures. Just before I walked in here, I saw a couple of beavers swimming up here. Now that they are out of the winter burrows, they are coming out here. So there's geese, there's swans, beavers, you name it. There's a lot of animals, and we also have a lot of snapping turtles. And for people who are planning to visit, I just wanted to add a small message. Be mindful of these snapping turtles. It's their nesting season. When it's warmer, they walk out. And this property was initially, we moved here 2 years ago to the Lake Monastery, or 1.5 years ago. Before that, there was a lady who was taking care of the entire property, and she was a true conservationist. And like this place became a safe haven for animals seeking refuge, now as a Buddhist monastery, we want this place to be a safe haven for troubled souls who are troubled or who are not troubled. Anyway, we want to make it a safe haven. And my name is Ananda. I'm a Buddhist monk. And please excuse me that I'm quite new to Canada. I come from Sri Lanka. And if I say something which is politically incorrect, because Canadians can be quite sensitive, which is a very nice thing. You think about what other person is thinking. If I say something which I'm not supposed to, please excuse me. I'm not very used to the Canadian ways yet. And I am Buddhist monk, and I belong to the Theravada tradition of Buddhism. You might not be able to see the difference up front, but if you can remember Dalai Lama, he has a different robe compared to me. So there are different traditions, different sects in Buddhism as well. But again, it doesn't matter which tradition we belong to. Let's look at what this whole thing is about. So please come in. Please come in. So I was just introducing about the Lake Monastery here and about myself. So I am Ananda. My name is Ananda. You might be able to pronounce it, the full name. It goes as Kalubovila Ananda Thero, which is kind of hard to pronounce, which is perfectly fine. Just call me Ananda, or just A. So I have become a monk. I ordained myself as a monk at the age of 35, which is 5 years ago. So you do the math and figure out how old I am right now. So I was actually a layman, like most of you here. I don't see any yogis or people who are in a path of celibacy or monks here. So like you all, I have been a layman. Back in the day, I studied chemical engineering. So my background is more on the technical side. And then I started my own businesses and moved on to hospitality, travel and tourism, and even lecturing, innovation, entrepreneurship. So there's many paths that I took. And one thing I could tell is that although I became a monk at a late age, I had the monk qualities in me. So I will explain as we go. I don't think I have been depressed in my life. I was always very happy. And because in Sri Lanka, in India, sometimes you become a monk as a response to a midlife crisis. So that's not my case. I was perfectly happy. Everything was perfect, but I decided to become a monk, and I'll tell you why I decided that. So I also discovered one more thing, that towards the last bit of my lay life, I was doing my own businesses. It was quite profitable, but then I was thinking, profits are nice, but is that the true meaning of life? So then I sort of shifted towards social entrepreneurship. I was a social entrepreneur. I have a registered not-for-profit back in Sri Lanka, and it also started in the Philippines. It's about helping kids with their vocational education, etc. So that's about me. That's about the Lake Monastery, and few ground rules that I mentioned about the turtles. If you are visiting here in person, because it's the nesting season for them, we don't want to crush the turtles while we are trying to learn Buddhism or meditation. And the Zoom etiquette. After 2.5 years of COVID, everyone is pretty familiar with how to use Zoom. If you have a question, raise hand, not physically on the Zoom. If you can find that little button, it's under reactions. Yeah. Under reactions, you find a little button to raise hand on Zoom. And so we will be having this discussion from 7:30 to 8:30. But then sometimes the discussion is so nice, I would not want to stop it right at 7:30. We'll let it go for 15 more minutes. And I'm completely free for you to have a chat with me and let others who have other things to get back to their work. So those are the ground rules that we have, pretty straightforward. But there's one more ground rule that I would like to lay, is that every time you come here, every time we meet on Zoom or in person, whatever, you have to leave with a lighter heart. And that's my single ground rule. Otherwise, it would be a shame where it would ruin the whole purpose. In fact, the first couple of sessions, I might be giving you some topics or questions which you will think about it. And you might be feeling a little uneasy. This problem wasn't here. Why is it now? You might be thinking about it. But end of the session, end of the 8 weeks, you really have to go with a light heart. If you do not do that, I will fail in my duty performing this discussion series. So what is Buddhism for daily life? What is Buddhism for daily life? Now, instead of me answering that, let me ask you, what is Buddhism for daily life? Right? In fact, this has been I told you that I was a Buddhist monk. I became a monk 5 years ago. But during my previous life as a layperson, when I was a kid also, I had this quality where a lot of people would come and tell their sad stories to me, their grievances to me. I don't know why. Even today, when we go out in the road in front of the squares in a mall, people just come and tell their stories to me. Often they are not happy stories, they're sad stories. And all I do is I try to help them. I listen to them. And I also ask them, what do you think is the solution? Like a shrink, you pay them, but they never tell anything. Right? So I do the same thing. I ask them, what do you think is the solution? And they, believe me, most of us, we have the solution. What we don't have is the clarity to find that solution. Right? So let me ask you, now I posted it online and there was a lot of people who got registered and I'm sure that they were interested in some form. Why did you join this discussion series? So instead of me telling what Buddhism for daily life is, why did you join this discussion series? Can we have a few answers for that? Why did you join?
I've always, I think it's fair to say that I've had the approach, if you want to call it, Buddhist approach, without knowing.
Without knowing.
People are saying, well, what things in moderation,
right,
consideration,
right,
thinking what other people are thinking.
Okay.
And I just maybe explore that aspect and just to clarify how I am. Or
very good.
What it is.
Very good answer. Very good answer. I don't have the time to ask each and every one of you, but I would love to have a personal discussion with you. Nihal invited me to tap into my spiritual side and get back to my true path because I have been lost for a while. Very good, great answers. While these answers are great, I do not accept any of these answers. And the reason is not because you are lying to me, it's because we truly might not know what's our true intention of coming here. And my role here is today and during the next 7 weeks is to try to help you figure out what is your true intention of coming here. while it might sound like a very simple thing, it's a very profound thing. We often do not know what we want. And my goal, again, at least what I'm trying to do, is to become a facilitator to help you discover why did you simply came to this Zoom discussion, in-person discussion, why did you select this, right? So that's a very important question. Why did you join this discussion? And often, like I mentioned, we are looking for answers. Now you have purpose, you think this is why I joined, and yet then you're looking for answers. But believe me, answer is not the hard thing. The hard thing is to figure out the question. That's the difficult thing to do. In fact, it's easy to get answers, but it's difficult to find the question that we are trying to ask. That's the hard thing, right? So why I'm saying that is sometimes Buddha, who created Buddhism, we'll get into who Buddha is. Buddha was sometimes referred to a mirror. Buddha is a mirror. Why? It's because mirrors, they show who you are. Unless it's a magic mirror, like on those stories, the mirror would show who you are as it is. So in a way, Buddha was a self-reflection for people who came in front of him, right? So I'm going to do the same thing with you. And during this discussion, I will also briefly tell you what Buddhism is. I will tell you what Buddhism is. But before that, let me share. Now, I share the screen. Before you came here, I sort of asked a question on the meetup. Why did you come here? And I got a lot of answers for that. Let me share those some of those answers. So this is what I got. Meditation, I want to learn about Buddhism, I like the teaching of Buddha, enjoy the topic, attain enlightenment, learn about karma, open to learn, grateful for the local Sangha, deepen my practice. I received about 40 answers, and then I received this A, B, C, D, G, F, which someone must have typed it. He was a little clumsy to type the full thing. And someone just mentioned, Nihal invited me. So it could be many reasons. And I really want you to take one thing today. When you after this discussion ends today, just think for a moment, take a little bit of time and truly try to identify why did you join here today? It's a very important question. And about the program, what will happen is that during this program, you will learn a bit of Buddhist culture, about Buddhist artifacts, about Buddhist rituals, and find certain answers to questions like, do I have to believe in karma? Do I have to believe in reincarnation to subscribe or to listen to this? Is Buddhism about oneness? There's a lot of talk about oneness. And what's the lifestyle of a monk? And is it okay for monks to use email? Different questions, right? So because everyone has their own set of questions, right? And one day there was this question asked by a monk, is it okay for monks to use emails? What do you think? The master said, it's completely fine for monks to use emails as long as there are no attachments. Right? So let's find the answers to all this. We'll learn about all this, and more importantly, I want you to understand and learn how to apply these teachings in your daily life. And more importantly, the final objective of this small discussion is to open you a path of seeking. And during this, you will also get to know a little bit of trivia of what Buddhism is. So having said that, let me start with the more softer things before we get to the full program. So trivia. So this is a Buddha statue. This statue happened to be in Sri Lanka, which is about 2,000 years old, carved out of rock. And people pray with their flowers. You see flowers here in my background also. And different statues have different faces. And this is again another statue which is in a cave temple. Now, right after I got ordained, I stayed in a cave temple. Cave temples are rock temples, and there's no electricity usually. There's no phone, no Wi-Fi, there's nothing. There's no bed even. You get a rock slab to sleep on, which is perfectly nice because you're completely off grid. And this is 2 days after I got ordained. I walked into a very remote cave where there are literally roaming elephants, wild elephants. And in that rock array we shared, there was a small hole, which our neighbor was a green pit viper, which is supposed to be venomous, but is very nice to the monks. So no harm. You are completely in that nature, in the rhythm of the nature, which is a fantastic experience. So you have those things in associated with Buddhism. And then I also want you to show a small thing. This part. This is called a stupa. A stupa is a structure where you have relics of monks of Buddha, and then you build a pyramid-like, but it's a round shape stupa. If you have come across mandalas, mandala, which is a Tibetan form of art, that's an aerial view of the stupa. Later on, we'll get to that trivia, but I just want to tell you a few things because most of you here are not from a Buddhist background or not from that Asian culture. So without getting to know a little bit about that culture, it might be difficult to understand the full teaching. But again, like I said, it doesn't have to be limited by what you believe, where you are from. It is actually not limited. I'm just telling because these are the words that we use. So the next question I want to ask to sort of help you with the first question, why did you join this? Let me ask, now Buddhism is sort of a religion. We have Abrahamic religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, etc. Why do you think people need a religion? What's the need of a religion for people? Hang on. If it's too hard, there's this fantastic session that a TED talk I heard. It's about why do we do what we do? Why do we do what we do? Which is a very nice question. And I don't know if you have heard about it, the Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy. Have you heard about it? Since I'm talking about stupas and pyramids, let me show that Abraham Maslow. Abraham Maslow came up with this idea called the Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy, which is something like this. So why people do what we do is that everyone in the bottom of the pyramid, they have their physiological needs. They need their food, water, basic stuff. And they have their safety needs, which comes after your physiological needs are met. And then you have other needs like love and belonging. Again, it's only after your physiological and safety needs where you can think of these things. And then comes esteem. And then there comes this part, the top of the pyramid, called the self-actualization. So you see that a person who's hungry, a person who doesn't have a shelter, would not think of something like self-actualization. Now we'll get to what self-actualization is. In a way, you coming here is somewhat associated with self-actualization, right? So again, let's go back to the question, why do people need a religion? So this is a stupa, like the pyramid of Abraham Maslow. Let me take the stupa and describe it to you. Why people associate a religion is because they have their needs. And most of the time, in the bottom, where there's most of the people, they come to associate religion because of cultural reasons, because it's associated with your culture. It's from your parents, it's from the society where you lived. That's why people associate a religion. And in each culture, there are different traditions, there are different rituals. If you again take the type of Buddhism which is practiced in Tibet, is different to what is practiced in my denomination. So rituals are different from even within the same country. We have a temple in Toronto, we have a temple in Ottawa, a Sri Lankan temple, though they do slightly differently. And the statues, the rituals, they are slightly different. So in this part, you might see different versions of Buddha, and it's culturally associated. And then people come when their dog has died, when their parents have passed away, when their loved ones are gone. In fact, out of all the calls I receive on a daily basis, from morning to evening, I receive a lot of calls. About 90% of them are related to relationships, breakups, all that. So therapeutic needs. People associate a religion because they need some therapeutic relief. And then there's a set of people who do not need to be culturally associated, who do not need to be therapeutically be in a good place, but they want to look for something other than that, philosophical. Now, that could be an academic need, or it could be a deeper need of philosophically trying to understand religion. Get into the big books, dwell in them, and then search what is what. And then there's a set of people who come for liberation. So this is the pinnacle. This is the jade crystal on the top. Usually in this stupa, this part is a crystal, which is very expensive, a jewel made out of crystal. And people come here, people associate religions for liberation also, and emancipation, a self-actualization. Now we will leave what exactly that is, but let's try to come back to our program today. What are we going to do? So our program is going to be like this. We have 8 topics. I changed the last topic, which is different to the poster, path of a seeker. Now, like I said, give me a second. Like I said, people come for the true emancipation, enlightenment, and a journey beyond solace. But I'm only trying to invite you to figure out that path of seeking. Because see, 8 sessions of 2 hours, which is only, or 1 hour, it's only 8 hours. If you stay for 1.5 hours, it will be still 12 hours. In that short period of time, I don't think you can figure out the full Buddhism. Now, I have been a monk for less than 5 years, almost 5 years, and that's about 20,000 hours if you put the full-time effort, because I'm full-time living it, right? So it's very hard to learn something in a short period of time. That's fine. And also, in the modern day, we have the instant versions of everything. We have the shorter version of everything. For example, yoga. I know that some of you here are yoga practitioners. So when yoga was initially written, when initially founded, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, even we don't know the exact time, but a long time ago, there was this great sage called Patanjali, a Hindu Upanishad sage. He came up with this nice book called Yoga Sutra, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And in that one, he does not go into explain what current yoga is. Because yoga nowadays is a stretching exercise. When you say yoga, people stretch. But the original yoga philosophy has nothing to do with stretching exercises. Although it was mentioned as a teeny part of the whole effort of finding liberation, finding moksha. Now, if you ask, yoga is about stretching. So the same thing could happen in our teaching as well. We can't learn Buddhism in the shorter way like that, and we need to prep the field. We need to fertilize the field, irrigate it, look after it, and harvest like a farmer does his farming. So it's not a short-term thing. That's why I mentioned I'm going to open up a path of seeking towards the end. So this is our end goal, but it's not the liberation. It's just the path or the entry for that. And then, in order for me to do that, I also needed to tell you a little bit of philosophical Buddhism, like a little bit of lingo, key concepts. Now, again, back in the day when Buddha was born and when he was preaching, there was nothing called Buddhism. So the disciples at that time, they didn't have to learn these things. So we now, in order to read a book of Buddhism, we will have to learn some of the key concepts. But I will try to keep it as simple as possible. So you need to learn a few philosophical stuff. Again, I will always make sure that these are all relatable to our day-to-day life. Otherwise, it's going to be a philosophical academic exercise. I don't want that to happen. But before we go there, we need to find a therapeutic solace. Our minds have to be in a space where it's calmer, where we know how to deal with anger and fear. We know how to deal with disappointment. We need to know that. But most importantly, we need to find what is the question that we are trying to find the answer for. That's very important, right? So this is how we are going to approach this whole discussion series, inherent issue of existence. Now, when I say inherent issue of existence, don't think that I'm going to create an issue for you and then give a solution for you, right? That's not my objective here. I'm only going to point out at certain things where you already know. Everything I'm going to talk, you already know these things. There's nothing which you don't know. My role is to, my role here is to just tell you or point out certain things to you. It's like, let me take an example. Back in the day, I was here at a sweat lodge, which is done by the First Nations here. And while it's fantastic, sweat lodge is fantastic. Imagine 1,000 years ago, people must have been enduring a lot of negative weather, minus temperatures, and now we are so fortunate we don't have to endure that. The same thing happened in Siberia. The last ice age, people were dying of cold, while Siberia happened to be right above very rich oil. There was oil. There was mineral fuel there. So they were sitting on top of these oil fields, and they did not know how to use it, and they were dying out of coal. So this is what happened to us also. That all the ingredients we need are just lying there, but we don't know how to connect that, right? So let me take that part. So again, I'm not going to come up with a problem for you and then tell you the solution. What I'm going to do is show you this is what as it is. Okay. So going back to the next part, I will also tell you a little bit of trivia. But more importantly, if we ask for whom is this program? Now that is the question I want to keep asking you. So this is the inherent issue of existence, therapeutic solace, philosophical Buddhism. But awakening is my true goal of you coming here. And then if you look at it, it's a self-actualization process, right? Like I said, people would have come here for just being interested in the topic, inquisitiveness, or feeling sad, broken-hearted, forced to come here. Sometimes, the second generation kids, parents ask them to come to the temple. That's why they come. So I want you to again, let me remind, carefully realize, why did you come here and join this program? Right? That's a very important question. And then I also want to tell you something. When we approach this whole subject, is Buddhism a religion at all? I was discussing why people associate religions. Now, I have a nice book in my room written by Bertrand Russell. And how it starts is that the difference between the dogmas and philosophies. Religions often falls under the category of dogma, right? What he says is that the difference between dogmas and philosophies is this. A dogma is a set of answers where you are not supposed to question. Religions are a set of answers where you are not supposed to question at all. You're supposed to believe them. And philosophies, on the other hand, they are a set of questions where you don't have answers. Is that right? Is there a free will, or is the world deterministic? No one knows. Since Aristotle, since Plato, they have been discussing it. Even today, is there a free will, or is it deterministic? Which is the right approach? Ontology or epistemology? Still debating about it. So philosophies are a set of questions where we don't have right answers or one right answer. Dogmas, on the other hand, are a set of solutions, a set of answers where you cannot question. If you try to question them, you are a wrong person. But Buddhism does not fall into that category. You can question Buddhism. That's a fantastic thing which happened. In fact, let me tell about myself. I come from a more back in the day. I was born to a Buddhist family. I went for my kindergarten and my junior school to a Catholic school, a Christian school, and then when I came to the capital in Sri Lanka, I was hanging out with my Muslim friends. So I was exposed to a quite multicultural place. By the age of 9, I was thinking, which religion should I adopt? Should I adopt Buddhism? Should I adopt Christianity? And then it hit me, whatever I am adopting, whatever most people have adopted, they have adopted it because it was a present from their parents, not because they truly subscribed to it, because it was a gift from their parents, like an inheritance. And I thought, well, I'm going to tell I don't want this inheritance. I'm going to be open-minded. And when Facebook came up in 2005, 4, I can't remember, there was a setting to put what is your religious view, and it had only atheism. So it had Christianity, Buddhism, and atheism, atheist. But actually, I was thinking, I'm not an atheist. I'm not anti-theology. The correct word to explain me would be agnosticism. Agnosticism means that you have not subscribed to anything because you haven't fully discovered anything yet. So I want to start your Buddhism practice from an agnostic point of view. We do not need to reject. We do not need to believe. All we need to do is to see what it is with an open mind. And that's a very important quality. And so because of that, Buddhism really does not fall into a typical religion because it's not a dogmatic set of answers that someone has given. Buddha says, this is what I'm proposing. Find out if it's true. You don't have to believe in it. In fact, the concept of believing is not there in Buddhism. Buddhism is about experiencing it yourself, right? And is it a philosophy? Is it a debate without no one answer, or a question without multiple answers? It's not that too. So let me, as we go further, I'll tell you how it's different to a dogma and how it's different to a philosophy. Let's find that as well. And again, you do not have to let go of any of your current faiths, beliefs. You don't have to drop anything. Pray to your deity, do your own ritual, do your own practice. It doesn't have to be like that. To enjoy sunset on our Barry's Lake, you don't have to leave your faith, right? So treat this discussion the same way. And like I said, I don't want to give you a lot of details about the cultural aspect of who Buddha is, the life of Buddha. If you want to watch that, if you are interested in that, there are amazing Netflix documentaries on what Buddha's life is, right? So I'm not going to stress a lot on that, but I'm going to tell you a lot more about what Buddha has said, the core message of Buddha. So in a way, I don't want you to find Buddha in terms of an image. I want you to find Buddha in terms of what he has departed, in terms of his wisdom. Right? So there's a slight twist in this discussion. I would like for you to find solace for sure, and I would most importantly want you to find yourself. So we are here. Okay. And then what are your prerequisites to come to this program? Let me quickly tell you the prerequisites. I told that you don't need to leave your faith, you don't have to do anything, you don't need to have a meditational practice or any prior experience in Buddhism, but there's a prerequisite to come to this discussion series. Now, this is not a place I have seen, but I have visited this fantastic island in the Philippines, which is called El Nido. Crystal clear water, beautiful water, and you can literally see the bottom. You can see what's lying down there, like Tobimori. I heard Tobimori is also like that. You can see the bottom of the lake, which is very still, crystal clear water. And why I took this example is because, let's say, this is an example, an anecdote or allegory. We are trying to discover ourselves, who we truly are. That's the goal of this discussion. And for a moment, think the bottom of this lake, that's who we truly are. And we are on top here. We are trying to see through the water what's lying beneath, what's lying on the bottom of the water of the lake. And there are two things. Because of two things, we can't do that. That's because this lake, the water, might be turbid. It might be murky. There's different things dissolved in that. It's not crystal clear. So because of that, we can't see this water. Or it might be the case where you have seen these kettles when the water is boiling. We have a kettle in our temple. It's transparent. So you can see when the water is boiling, right? Imagine there's a lot of bubbles and like turbulence in the water. You then also can't see what's lying in the bottom. Our mind is the same thing. We want to look what's down in there, deep inside who we are, but two things doesn't let us do that. The first is our minds are very compulsive. They are filled with emotions. They are filled with agitations, and because of this agitation, we can't see who we are truly. And the second part is we have so many prejudices. We have so many beliefs that we dearly hang on to. We don't want to let go of them, and because of that, we can't see who we truly are. So I want you to have these two prerequisites only, that we need to find a way to how not to be compulsive. So non-compulsive doesn't mean that you have no feelings in your mind. That's not what I'm asking you to. But you need to let go of this compulsiveness. I will explain further as we go on what is the difference between having feelings and not being compulsive about those feelings. Right? Those are two different things. The second part is it's very easy. It seems very easy to do, but it's a very difficult thing to do. An open mind. That's a very difficult thing to do because we all have our own beliefs. In fact, when I learned maths, it was called axioms. We base everything, mathematics is based on axioms. There are certain principles that you need to believe that it's true. For example, if you are to add 1 plus 1, which is 2, which seems obvious, which is very straightforward, you truly need to believe that little operator here is really going to add things. If you do not believe in that, you can't go ahead in your mathematics. So it's axiomatic. Axiom means that you truly need to believe in these things. So when we try to describe the world around us, we already have certain prejudices, right? And it's very hard to let go of that. Later on, I will tell you the Zen monk story of emptying your cup. Not today, because we have a limited time today. I'll tell it to on another day. So open-minded, being open-minded is one. And being non-compulsive mind is the two. But how do we do that? Throughout this course, I will also tell you what to do. In order to be non-compulsive, we need to find a mind of mindfulness. A mindfulness mind can only be make your mind non-compulsive. The second part is you need to have a critical mind. So don't dogmatically believe in what I'm saying. Question me. I love you questioning. Don't discard any of the ideas I say. Don't accept any of the ideas I mentioned here. Right? So those are the things I wanted to say, and that's about this program. So that's about this program. I'm going to take a very layman's term approach. I'm not going to give you a lot of fancy words, and I will also take different examples from different philosophies that you are more familiar. You must be mostly familiar with the Hellenic philosophy. So I'll take that. I will take medical science. I will take all the day-to-day, the philosophies that examples which are relevant to this period. Because Buddha's sermons, doctrines, they were written down coming through the Pali Canon, which are 2,500 years old. Some of the examples might not be comprehensible. While the essence is still valid, the examples might not be comprehensible to this day. So let's do that. Like I said, find the practical usage, therapeutic usage, evoke self-awareness, and it's not a ultra spiritual version of Buddhism. There's this guy on YouTube who does a channel called Ultra Spirituality. So he sort of mocks all the ultra spiritual people, which is a true pandemic again after COVID. People are becoming ultra spiritual. So I'm not going to do that, and it's a dialed down version of what Buddhism is. In a way, it's a Buddhism for Dummies series. There's finance for dummies, Buddhism for dummies. So this is a Buddhism for dummies. Why I use the word dummies is because there's this thing called ignorance, which we are going to talk a lot as we go on. So ignorant or erroneous identification or erroneous thinking of who I am, what my problem is, why I came here to join this discussion. It goes back to the first thing I said. Why did you come to this discussion? So that's about it. So let's get into the main point of our discussion today. So that was about the program, what you're going to do in the next 7 weeks. And more importantly, I don't want to tell you things. I want your opinion on it. So let me ask you a question now. Let's try to figure this out. My question is, why do we live? Now that's a question for you. Why do we live? Just think for a moment. Why do we live? Does anyone have an answer for that? Okay, let me help you. Before we go to answer or trying to figure out why we live, let's try to figure out what is life. And that should be a fairly easy question, right? What is life?
Biological.
Biological. Let me even dial it down. I said this is a series of Buddhism for dummies. Right? So, what does the living have and the dead does not? Should be easier now.
Senses.
Senses. Okay. Now, back in the day, I had this bad habit whenever my parents take me to funeral homes, I poke the one who's lying there to see if he's responding because I was very inquisitive about why is he lying, at an age where you don't understand death. I was doing that. And guess what I have discovered? They don't respond, right? So what a live person has, or live being versus a dead unliving person does not have, is that they don't respond to stimulus. But we can't for sure, or at least I can't for sure tell that they don't think or they don't feel because I'm not dead yet. It will be difficult for me to give a conclusive answer about that. But we know for sure that they are not responding to sound. They are not responding to touch. They are not responding to vision. They are simply seen to be absent of those things. The closest to death you experience daily is the sleep. And during sleep, let me tell you that you think you know so much about yourself, but you even don't know about your sleep. What you know is just before you fell asleep and right after you are woken up. The dreams can be taken as another form of, another form of awareness, which is not, I'm talking about the deep sleep, the deep REM sleep. You have absolutely no idea what that is. It's a mystery. So you see, we think we know a lot about ourselves. We don't know what we do 6 hours a day, every day, right? We know just before we fall, everything happened to our body, to our mind, just before we fell asleep, right after we woken from that REM sleep, right? So dead does not have these 5 senses, no sensory experiences, no biological activity, like you said. And he does not, at least we think that he does not have mind activity. He can't contemplate about the future. He cannot be sad about what happened in the past, at least the dead body. Because if you plug him into a fMRI, you don't see any brain activity in that dead body. So we should assume safely that he can't think. Maybe his soul outside might be thinking about that, but at least that body is not thinking about anything. And that dead body cannot associate with people. He can't hang out with his friends. He can't go to places. He's still in that coffin. He can't exercise, do his yoga, listen to discussions, listen to YouTube. He can't do that. And he does not have any possession. Maybe he was very wealthy before when he was living, but a dead person has absolutely no possession. So he's absent of people, he's absent of places, he can't go, no possessions, and no pastimes. Right? So those 4 P's, remember, it will reappear again. The dead do not have that. So on the other hand, our question was, what is living? The living person has all this. He has mental activity. He thinks about the past, memories, ponder them, be sad about them, be anxious about the future. In fact, if you look at it, a person being anxious and feeling insecure about the future is called, too much of that is called anxiety. A person who's being sad about what has happened in the past is called depression. So at the end of the day, we'll try to find an answer for depression and anxiety and our bipolarity, right? And so let's get to the bottom of it. Why I say to the bottom of it is that I want to keep on asking these questions. I don't want to give you a surface level answer. Like, let's say that I'm having a headache right now. The easiest thing would be to take a Advil or a Tylenol. That would be the easiest. But that's not the root cause. Maybe it's a tumor deep down here. Maybe it's a symptom of a grave problem which is underneath. So let's have the same approach in this discussion series. I do not want to give you Advil, but I will give you a little bit of Advil as therapeutic solace, which is also needed. But the main purpose of this discussion is to not give you Advil or Tylenol. Literally, I'm using a lot of cross-referencing and examples and anecdotes and allegories. Don't confuse between that and my message, okay? Because otherwise you might think it's a medical lesson. And the next part is that let's try to figure out, now that we know what is life, what is the purpose of our existence? Now you might be a little clear about what you want to do. Can I have some answers from the Zoom? Why do you think? What's the purpose of your existence? Can someone tell me? I know it's a very hard question to answer. It's not easy.
Experience the life.
We are creating. There's no purpose of life. We are creating purpose.
So I'll just ask Jeet.
There's no purpose
Maybe
of,
we don't know. Maybe it was given to us and we're on this journey to discover what it is.
Very good, extremely good. In fact, this is one of the classic answers. Why do we live? What's the purpose? We do not know. We are just put here. We were born, and that's why we are living. And that's a very good answer. Can I get a couple of more answers? Why do you think you live?
Maybe you were meant to learn something.
You're meant to?
Yes. Maybe we learn things in life.
Right,
That's
right.
that's straightforward.
Okay.
But maybe that's what life's about.
About.
To learn things.
Right.
And have an understanding.
Have an understanding. There's an ultimate purpose which we are not very sure.
I actually have a different perspective. I think.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So I think we have this body to experience the universe, to witness the universe. I think that's the purpose of life.
There's a little bit of background noise. You mind typing it? I couldn't. It was a little.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I just couldn't understand it because of the background noise. Please type it. I'll then read it out. And Nihal, you wanted to say something, share something.
Yeah, so as I said, so we are born now. So we have to now go through the life. So during the period, so why do I live? Is to really to explore really, or experience really.
Experience life. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question again so that you can understand my question. Now you are here because of some reason that you were born, you want to learn, you want to experience, etc. Now let me ask you this question. Are you happy to die right now? So I'll always ask the other question. Are you happy to die right now? No one would say it is right.
Yes, I am.
You are, Lily. Very good. That's very few people give me that answer. Most would say, well, your questions are nice, but I thank you. I don't want to die right now. Right? Which is very good. And when we try to, so apart from Lily, I'll get to Lily. I'll tell you a few reasons why you would not want to die, right? Can you think why would you not want to die right now?
To understand why you are living.
To understand why you are living, to find an answer to this question I'm asking. That's a good reason. But just assume if this in front of me is a water, it's not water, it's poison, right? If I literally, not as a thought experiment, if I give it to you right now, like right this moment, are you willing to drink this? Most likely no, except for a few maybe. If you are not willing, why is that? What keeps you from not doing that? What keeps you from not having this poison water, poison wire? Prasadi?
I was thinking about why we cannot die, the reasons. Every time I'm thinking about that, what will happen if I die right now?
Very good.
And I'm thinking that there are so many attachments, so many things that maybe I need to do and I haven't done. So those kind of things comes to my mind.
Very good. So let me put a shorter word for that. My responsibilities. Okay.
Mm.
And things I need to do. Very good. Very good. Responsibilities and things that I want to do in life. Let's ask Kim. What do you think, Kim? Why do you not want to die?
I think the basis of it is fear.
Fear.
Fear of the unknown.
Very good. Very good answer. Very good answer. Very good answer, Kim. Let's ask. Yes, Kim?
Oh, I just said thank you.
Okay. And let's ask Jean. Unmuted.
Oh, for me, I think it's my responsibility to my family. I want to see them in a happy place, and somehow I feel somewhat responsible for helping my daughter and my grandchildren get there.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. Which is a fantastic answer. So let me start with that because it would be applicable for most of you. I can't die right away because there are dependents on me. I have responsibilities. I have a responsibility to my family, my dependents, my loved ones, to the Canadian government, to the world, to my neighborhood, right? Now, since that you mentioned responsibility, just answer this question. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I'm sorry about that. Now, these responsibilities you have right now, bulk of them, 95% of them, were you born with them or did you adopt them at some part of your life? Like for your job, for example, of course, no one started working as a baby, right? So it's after your graduation or your school. Your loved ones, your dependents, your children, were they a conscious voluntary decision to take that responsibility? It's like 95% adoption, right? Maybe there's a little bit of things like what happened to Prince Siddhartha, who was Buddha. Before he became Buddha, he was a layman called Prince Siddhartha. He was born to a royal family. He had this inheritance of being the next king. So it was given to him. It wasn't his choice. What he did was he said, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to go on a path of seeking. So that's a decision he took, right? We are not coming from a royal family, so we don't have that burden. And most of the responsibilities that we call we have, which why we can't die, are adopted responsibilities. So I just wanted to highlight that part. And the second thing is they are voluntary. While they are voluntary, there are people who leave their responsibilities. Like, let's say, there are people who leave their children and their marriages to go and find another partner. They do that, right? In fact, 2 days ago, there was a kid who died in Sri Lanka. I was in touch with him. He just committed suicide. He left his job, he left his things. So some people opt to leave their responsibilities, right? Sometimes you leave your own children. I have come across people who visit me. They say, I'm cut off from my family because I did not do what my parents wanted to do. So I'm cut off. So parents, they can cut off their responsibility to their children, right? Although we think that responsibilities are permanent, it's not the case. We tend to change and leave responsibilities. But while we can take different choices, you say responsibilities is the single thing that which is keeping you from dying. That answer I do not accept again. You might give it to me, but I'm not going to accept it because deep down there might be something else. Let's think about it. Don't worry, let's think about it. Then it would be the next case. I can't die because there's usage of me to this world. Just think for a moment, what would happen to the world if you die right now? Of course, your loved ones are going to cry for a week, 2 months, and then they are going to get over it. 10 years down the line, there'll be a few tears for you. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years down the line, most of you will be unremembered. There'll be no remembrance. Unless if you're an exalted person like Prince Siddhartha, who became Buddha, whose name that we're talking after 2,500 years, or someone who's really bad, like, I don't know, all the people who started wars, terrorism, their name is still remembered for doing bad things. Unless you are like one of those things, most of you are going to be unremembered. No one would remember about you after 50 years, for sure. Right? And will the world be a better place when you are gone? I personally think it would be a better place because we are leaving a lot of carbon footprint in this world. Have you thought how many chickens you are eating per year? Again, I'm not trying to promote vegetarianism or veganism here, but I happened to watch a nice documentary by David Attenborough on how the world has changed in terms of global warming, which is a crisis right now. If you go right now, it would be a favor for the world, not otherwise, right? And the most prevalent or the most frequent answer is that I am here just because I was born. But although I do not accept that as an answer, if you are just here because you are just born, you should be ready to drink this as well. There's no specific reason. Responsibilities I can understand. Right?
There's nothing.
Nothing.
It is meaningless.
Meaningless, right? So some even might say, well, killing myself drinking this is a sin. So I do not want to commit that sin. It's against my religion. It's against my rule book. It's wrong. But then again, when you want, you would anyway do it. Right? I have seen it firsthand. When you really want to do it, you would do it. You don't care for responsibilities. You don't care for what is sin in your religion. You simply do it. Civic duties, you do it. But then again, if I ask, can you die right now? There will be a lot of to-do lists. A task list might pop in your head. There are so many things that you need to do. From a simple task of picking up your daughter from the class after this. Someone mentioned it to me just a while ago. I have to send an email to my boss saying I'm going to be permanently off. I'm no more, right? You have so many unfinished business, which is very nice because down here, down this Blenheim Road, I go and sit during the summer in the beautiful place where they are all surrounded by dead people. Right? It's a resting place for people down there. It's called the Mount something. It's a very peaceful place where right by a small chapel. So many tombs, beautiful place, nicely maintained. And in each tomb, it says, rest in peace, R.I.P., RIP. Now, my question is that how many of these people, there must be thousands of them since the 1800s, how many of them were in a place to really rest in peace? Because at your last minute, you have unfinished business. How can you rest in peace when you have so many unfinished business? I'm asking you, right? Can you leave right now? Don't you have so much unfinished business? At least you said you want to find the answer for this question that I asked earlier. That's what keep you from not dying or killing yourself, right? So again, I'm not promoting veganism. I'm also not promoting committing suicide. Don't take it the wrong way, right? So my simple question is, can we truly rest in peace if we don't find an answer to this question? Now we have so many unfinished business in life, and that's why we can't leave right now and drink this glass of poison, right? So many unfinished business. Even if you say no, right? Like Lily, I will have later on. I will have a chat with when I say Lily, not personally Lily, but people who answers who are willing to accept this. Can we truly live this life like that? Now, I also work with, I also talk to a lot of hospice patients because I'm currently involved with a multidisciplinary research with Rochester University in New York State. And I meet people who have only 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks. They are end of their stream. That's it for them. And even some of these people, they say, I need to call my loved one. There's so many unfinished business. So again, seeing them, I somewhat don't agree that you have everything settled right now. Right? Imagine this is your last second. Most of you are not ready to go. Most of you are not ready to rest in peace. So I again feel bad about it. Nihal, you want to add something? Unmute yourself.
Yes. So, while you were talking, I was thinking really so about this life and death really. So I was thinking that all the question is, why do we don't want to die?
Right.
And I go back and say, did we ask ourselves, did we want to be born? So I don't think I didn't. I just came into this world really,
Right.
without my making a choice really. So I didn't have any choice really. So I was born really. So
Right.
now after being born really, I don't want to make a choice, decide to die really. I want to let myself die, and I let myself be born. I didn't let myself be born even. I didn't know really how I came into this world. It's through my mother and fathers. So they did something bad, so I came in. And then I don't want to die really. I don't want to make a choice to die really. I want to let myself die really. I don't want to take the responsibility for my own death.
Right.
Yes, I was thinking really.
Very good, very good, very good addition. So let's keep on thinking about it.
No, we have a biological, like most animals want it.
Right,
Right.
right.
I think we have that too.
Biological need, yeah. The need of survival. Right?
It's
a habit. No, you're very correct.
Well, then,
You're very correct. Take a tree. Take a tree. Now this tree is again a tree which is from Asia. It won't survive outside in the winter. It won't live. A microorganism. COVID doesn't want to get out of the world. It wants to stay. So that's why it comes up with delta variation, sigma variation. It wants to stay. There's a biological need of survival deep down. So let's see why we want to do all these things. And like Nihal said, we cannot remember the choice of wanting to be born. Why I say that? Because maybe God asked when we were a little angel, do you want to go down or would you like to hang out here in the paradise? We might have said, let me try the human world, and then you came here. Maybe you don't remember that choice. So I'm not saying there's no choice, right? Maybe you have made a choice which you don't remember. But like you said, we are trying to identify why do we not want to go now. Why I asked that question is to find the answer for the real question, why am I living? So let me, now again, can I ask you, it's 8:35, can I go on for about 10-15 minutes? Is that fine? Yeah? Okay, all right. So now I have seen so many people who are in a path of committing suicide, right? One guy literally stabbed himself and then said, I'm going to commit suicide, sort of said, I'm going to say goodbye. And I had to rush him to the hospital because he called me, he's still alive. And there's another guy who came to the temple back in Sri Lanka. He said, I came here to say goodbye. And after that, I'm going to go and kill myself. So I gave him a hot tea, had a discussion with him, and then he didn't go. Right? So I know why people are in a position, or their mindset at least, when they're about to kill themselves. So let's try to identify why would a person want to commit suicide, right? Break up. Again, 90% of the time it's heartbreak, financial loss, distress, failure, shame, medical reasons. There are very few who die for no reason. That they truly can't, they only know that they don't want to live, so they go, but there's no particular reason. I have met a few, a very handful, but most of them it's a financial loss, shame is a big cause. Breakups are a major cause, so that's why people die. But then again, if truly, I'll share something with you. Now I have sort of looked at why people live and die. And then I was able to put it into a matrix. Maybe this is my engineering, that I always want to put things into a matrix. So I see that people can be living in two axes. You can be either happy or you can be sad. You can be hopeful or hopeless, right? And when you look at people who want to die and people who want to live, usually when people are happy and hopeful, you don't want to die. You simply don't want to die. When you are hopeful but sad, you still don't want to die. You can be sad, but if there's a little glimpse of hope, there's a little bit of hope, you still do not want to die. And then there are people who are sad and who does not have hope. They are the ones who really truly want to die. Yeah, they don't want to live. They are sad as well as they are hopeless. And then there's a set of people who are happy and hopeless. Can you give me an example for those type of people? You probably don't know any, right? I am one of them. I have no hope. I have no dream. I was telling a lot of people back in the day when they asked, what would you like to do in the next 5 years, next 1 year? Where would you be in the next month? I absolutely don't know. So I live in a way that wherever the wind blows. And I have exhausted my hopes, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to die. I'm very happy. If you meet me, you would see that I'm not sad. I'm happy. I'm very having a very positive attitude towards life. Yeah.
So I just it's a great diagram. Right? You see, makes you think about a different situation.
Right.
The hopeful and hopeless, is that more the anxiety thing, or you're positive? I know in your case that doesn't really apply that well because you're not anxious,
Right. Either.
but so it's just that you're not worried about the future.
Right. Right.
It's not anxiety at all.
No. Very good question. No, that's a very good question because that's why am I hopeless, Michelle? Because I'll get to that later, which is a very good question. Now, what I wanted to say is that maybe you can't, but at least I can be hopeless and be happy. I know how to do that. And usually we think that, okay, so let me share this again. Now, the more important thing I want to show you is that when you are happy and hopeful, you would want to live. But here, this gray box, that is where you would want to kill. Right? All the other three, you are okay to live. So in a way, can I sort of summarize and say, the purpose of your living is because there's happiness and there's hope. Is that correct? Now you tell me there's responsibility, there's this, that, da. But if you look at these things, fulfilling responsibility, does it make you sad or happy? Eventually it's going to make you happy. You associating people, you going to your job. Does going to your job make you happy? Maybe not right out front. No one is like really willing to go to their jobs unless you're passionate about what you're doing. They go there because that's a mean. That's how you find other things that you can figure out happiness. If you don't go to your job, you don't have the money to live. When I say live, not the basic living, right? So go back to Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy. A monk would live off 4 basic needs. A monk would live a minimalistic lifestyle. Any person can live on these 4 things: food, a place to live, clothes, and medicine. Is that right? Any person only needs those 4 things to live, and everything else is a want. Right? So a monk's lifestyle, when again I ordained, now I have 4 sets of these robes, but back in the day I only had 2 sets of those robes, right? And I had a rock cave temple as my accommodation, which is perfectly fine. Then I was in a temple in the city. Now I'm here in Canada. You need a place to live, period. It doesn't matter if it's a rock out in the jungle, or a tent in a camp, or in a tent in a jungle, or if it's a luxurious living at a luxurious place. You need food, right? But do you need cheesecake? Do you need fancy, fancy food, 7-course meal? You need food. You need your micronutrients and macronutrients. You need that. Rest is a need, a want. You need your clothes. You need your medicine sometimes, right? So 4 needs, that is the basic needs for a person. Everything on top is a want. But the thing is, fulfilling these wants make you happy. And all the other work you do is to find these wants, to acquire these wants. Is that correct? Because that's the true source of our happiness. By finding these things, it will make us happy. If we are momentary, if we are deprived of those things, we are sad. If we are blocked, if we are cut off from accessing nice food, if we are deprived of our wants, we will be unhappy. So for people, when they come across different reasons, they are deprived of those things, then they become sad. But still, if they have a glimpse of hope, they might still live. And when that hope is gone, they will die. Right? So now, in a way, I don't know if it if you figure out a reason why you live, just keep thinking about this, and I will officially try to stop this discussion here, but we'll continue this discussion. Feel free to stay with me and answer your unanswered questions. I'm not going to give you an answer today. I'm going to keep you asking questions. Why I do that? Not because I'm so interested about your lives, because I want you to find yourself. The first question is, why did you come to this discussion? Why did you walk in here? Why did you join it on Zoom? Why do you want to listen to this? The second question is, why are you? What is the purpose of your life? Why do you live? Right? So those are the 2 questions. And we'll stop it from for there today, but I also want you to tell a small thing. Now, there's a entanglement between this hope and happiness. When you are happy, you become hopeful that you want to recreate that same happiness again. In a way, that hope is again happiness. Is that correct? Being hopeful makes you happy. Being happy makes you hopeful. So there's a little bit of a knot like that. I will show you many more knots in your life like that, which we again, like I said, everything I said today is nothing new. You all know this. My purpose here is to show certain things, highlight certain things, and give you that clarity, right? So with that, we'll officially stop it for today. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have.
Isn't that grasping if you take the happiness and you want it and because you want more of it? I don't think I agree with you, sir. I think if you're happy, you accept it as a gift and that's it for today. And if you're lucky enough to have happiness tomorrow, then again, you're grateful.
Very good.
That's the word I was looking for.
Right, grateful, yeah?
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good, which is very true. But if we look at how we operate, our modus operandi, so we come across something which is very nice. We are happy. We are grateful for it. But in the back of my mind, I have a small likeness towards that. The next time I go to the restaurant, when I see all the options, I would like to have this drink because I liked it. It made me happy. And there were certain things which did not make me happy. I would want to leave that out and select this one.
No. I would want to have that one because I've never tried that one. I know that one made me feel good, but I haven't tried that one. So
Right.
no, I don't agree.
No, that's very good. That's very good. Like I said, you don't have to agree with me at all.
I know.
Let's try to figure this out.
Sure.
Is there any habit in the life of Lily? When I say Lily, not you.
I understand. Yeah.
Do we have habits in our life? Do we prefer tea over coffee?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's say between tea and coffee, we prefer coffee than tea.
No. Tea.
Right? Tea. Okay, tea. Why do we drink tea but not coffee? Because we like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's our preference.
But if I went into a tea shop, I would never get what I drink at home every day.
Yeah, there could be different options, and trying out different things makes
I
you happy.
would. I wouldn't say because it made me happy, just because I'm curious.
Right, right. So that is very true. Actually, there's a study which is done. It's actually based on pornography, how people watch porn. But the study,
Did you
yeah,
say watch porn?
yeah, but it applies to YouTube. You know how they decided on the YouTube algorithm. They
Okay.
say, have you heard about the app called TikTok, which is very famous among the kids these days? Yeah.
Luddite here. Sorry.
So they have figured out the works of our brain. In fact, you are mostly happy looking for options.
Ah,
Right? So the original study was done with porn, but then they have applied those learnings when YouTube form. They have applied that learning on YouTube algorithm. You know, when you see a feed of things that you want to see on YouTube, it's not your wanting; it's YouTube giving you that.
choice. The choice.
And it has become even worse now. The TikTok app. TikTok is a thing where you can swipe, and there are so many videos. You know, there's an unlimited trail of videos.
Okay.
Kids are addicted to that. You know, kids, they say that there's a relationship between being ADD, attention deficit
Yeah.
disorder, and you being addicted to TikTok. I don't know what it is, but most likely you're most happy browsing things.
Uh,
You're most happy window shopping than really buying things.
It's a malls are so big.
Malls are so big, right? In fact,
Olden days it was
just
only one
few
shop.
options. Yeah, back in the day, back in the day, when Ford came up with this car, there were only black cars. But now they have discovered the psychology, and there are so many options, right? But more importantly, we like options. In a way, we can say that browsing through these options makes us happy, right? And my key point is we can be grateful for what I've gotten, which is fantastic. It's a gift, right? But then again, behind everything, there's this element which makes us happy. If this happiness is taken out of our lives, we will be very upset. You know, when people come to me, when they say they are depressed, there's no happiness in their lives. If they're happy, you can't be depressed, right? And then they still want to die. They are depressed because they have a little bit of hope. This monk might give me a solution. This doctor, this activity I'm going to take, this path might give me a solution. They are hopeful. So you take out happiness and hope from a person, you don't want to live. But you put either happiness or hope in a person, they want to live. So that's why I said, is it safe to say, we will discuss about it, we will brainstorm about it. Is it safe to say that the fundamental purpose of our life is happiness and hope?
I think it's right pursuit of happiness.
Right.
Sorry.
Pursuit of happiness. Yeah.
but can I just say, sir, that but the first question you said was, are you ready? Is anybody ready to die? I
Right.
don't want to die, but if it came along, I'd be ready.
Right, which is a very great answer. You know,
Yeah.
you're right. Like you said, there's a natural tendency for us to survive. No one likes uncomfortable things. No one would want to die per se, right? If at all, you might want to die in a very quiet manner, you know, without you knowing, right? That's how you would want to die if at all. You don't want to get into a car crash or, you know,
Oh, no.
that's not what you want to do. Like Lily said, most of us are ready to die, but we do not want to die, right? So those are two different things. We can be ready to die, but not want to die. But then again, ask that question from the bottom of your heart. Are we really ready to die? Are we really ready to leave everything right now?
I think it matters whether you think there's an afterlife or
Right.
some reincarnation, whatever.
Very good.
Because if you don't, you probably want to live as long as you
Right.
can, because
Right.
you won't have an opportunity.
Right. Very good. I hope you heard. If you are guaranteed a spot in your afterlife, you want to die, right? In fact, if you look at all the suicide bombings when people do. They are guaranteed afterlife. They are guaranteed 72 virgins, right? And that's why ideally based on your ideology. Not only that, if you look at the Norse religion, pagan religion, which was there between with the Vikings, Scandinavians, it's a fantastic religion. I've studied it quite a bit. There's sacrificing in that, and there's a heaven called Valhalla. You would want to go to Valhalla by sacrificing to the god. So it's a very good point. If you are given a guarantee that there's an afterlife, which is absolutely assured, you can do that. But are you assured of that? Now, while I have great respect for people who die for those causes, who have committed the sacrifice back in the day to go to Valhalla, do you have a assurance that there's a guaranteed spot for me like that? When you book a ticket on IMAX, you are given a guaranteed spot. When you book a ticket on an airplane, you can find your exact spot. But do you have that guarantee in the heaven or the afterlife? So that's another way to think about it. Right? So I'm very glad. John, yeah, you want to?
Yes, I was wanting to ask about the difference between happiness and contentment.
Right. Very good question. Very good question. That's a very good question. Happiness and content, being content. What do you think is the difference?
I know there's a difference, but I can't exactly define it. I find that
that is absolutely.
I find the happy word a really, really kind of airy word, where I find contentment is deeper inside.
Right. That's a very great question. In fact, I'm going to talk about it hopefully on the second day, right? What is happiness?
Okay.
So, which is a very great question. And you might see that I'm trying to establish a common definition for most of these things that we discover, or at least we talk. We think that these words mean things, but let's try to get to ourselves and try to establish what's the true meaning of that, right? So, so let's do that. Don't worry. Let's take our time and we'll try to figure these things out. Again, you might see that all these things you know already, right? I don't want to tell you anything. I might want to tell you a few things about basic models of Buddhism and towards the end of the discussion, like certain words. But this beginning part, it's all your knowing. It's not my knowing. I just want to come to a common agreement and then go forward based on that, right? So again, please be free. If you're leaving now, I will let you do two things. Think about why you joined this discussion. Very important. Why didn't you go and watch your YouTube or TikTok for that matter? Why did you join this discussion? Took 1.5 hours of your valuable time. The second thing is, why am I living? It might be a very upfront question, but take the next week to go through that, and let's meet next week. Yeah, all good. If you have any additions, if any particular thing that you need to ask me, just write to me. I hope that you know my email address and whatever the channel that you got in touch with me. Feel free to ask those, and we will take it slowly and try to find what Buddhism for daily life is. Okay. All right. Thank you then. Have a good night. Teruvan Saranai.